Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Episode 129. Welcome, Josh Rohr. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Cool. The state
What's going on in the powerlifting world? That's
the state meet.
You didn't wait.
I know. I anticipated. Georgia State meets this weekend. They have over 300 lifters on the roster. We have 7, and we're handling 9. So we got a couple people that are not on the team that we're going to be handling, and it should be good. We have the longest tenured state meet lifter starting us off Saturday morning, Chris Whiteson. Will Ruff, Wesley Toller, and Matthew Martin are Saturday afternoon session. And then Taylor Smith, Ray Nassari, and Cordell Estrada are Sunday morning session. The meet starts on Friday. We don't have any lifters that we're coaching on Friday, so I'll be at the booth Friday, and we'll have other people at the booth Saturday and Sunday. But we're going to have some deals going on there. So specifically, we have a couple like little lifting jewelry things like you had before. We're going to have those available. And if anybody purchases any type of training from us, like whether it be subscribing to the app or signing up for coaching, you're going to get 50% off of any of the jewelry that's there, and also 50% off of any of the Quest supplements that we have there.
Cool.
Little incentive to sign up.
Right.
And outside of that, we will be taking kind of like walk-up handling requests. And if it fits our schedule and no conflicts with lifters that we're already coaching, then, we are available for that too. If you need a handler still, there's still time.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah. Who doesn't need a handler? I need someone to handle me. I'm just too crazy at meets. I just get too emo and freaked out. So at meets, okay, all the time. Really, let's be honest.
I'm honest. Like, that's really what I thought you were saying at first, and I guess that's the narrative.
I need a life handler. Can I have a life handler? Like somebody to just like make my decisions. Just tell me when to get up, when to sit down, when to talk, when to be quiet.
That would actually be kind of nice,
right? Yeah.
So, have you played with Chat GPT at all?
No.
It's the AI that's like, I don't really know much about it, but it's kind of scary. But like you can type. So I found out about it somewhere on social media, but people were using it to like cheat in college and like write essays and papers and stuff. And it's not detected by the plagiarism thing or whatever. So I was playing around with it, and like you can be very specific, like it'll do whatever you want. I mean, whether or not it's real accurate or not, but I wrote like, in the input, it's like, write a 12-week powerlifting training program, 3 days a week, an hour and a half per session, whatever. I didn't get real specific, using RPE, and it spits out like a week 1, day 1, blah, 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 day 1, week 1, day 2, blah, 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 blah. So then I'm like, all right, write a Valentine's Day poem from the perspective of a single person at the gym watching their crush from across the gym or something like that while listening to 80s music. And it spit out this freaking awesome poem. I'm actually going to post it tomorrow, or not tomorrow, I guess it'd be yesterday when this comes out. So it's going to be posted on the Instagram story.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. Like it does all kinds of stuff. I don't know how it works, but it basically like searches the internet for any of these keywords and like puts together like the best information.
That's almost creepy.
It is. So like
not almost, actually, it's kind of creepy.
And I know like people have used it for like, writing code for websites. It'll say like in WordPress, write a script for WordPress that and I don't know anything about this, so I couldn't even do it if I tried. Right. And it spit out the code that worked. The only downside, they said, there's some of these articles I read, was like it doesn't do like all of the like security. Right. It leaves like a back door for hackers or something. for some of these
Right.
things.
Right. So don't use it to code your website, but if you need to write an essay,
right,
or a poem for Valentine's Day, your gym crush.
I mean, that was, but I mean, it does like really advanced things. So like I did one too, just playing around. I'm like, write a 400-word essay on why heeled squat shoes are a must-have, and it wrote a really pretty good article. So then I did write a 400-word essay on why you should never use a heeled squat shoe, and it wrote an equally impressive article. I'm like, holy crap, this is ridiculous.
Can I use it to make life decisions?
Probably. You could just ask it like, should I get out of bed today?
Convince me to get out of bed.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
And it's free. It's pretty wild.
And it's called what?
Chat GPT.
Chat GPT. All right. I can look that up.
The website's like chat.openai.com. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty crazy. Like, I feel like it's going to replace a lot of people, like work wise. Because like even powerlifting, like it literally wrote a program. I mean, it had some flaws in it, but it was not bad. Like it was not a bad program.
Maybe I could just ask it to do my job and I can go off and do something else.
Maybe that's what I should do. Programming, right? Write a training program for this person.
Right.
And I also did, so I love throwing in like extra little variables, like write it. So I went off the rails on this, writing like Valentine's Day stuff. I don't know why, but one of them was like, write a Valentine's Day poem from the perspective, or from third person perspective, to your ex-girlfriend that dumped you while you're bench pressing at the gym listening to 80s power ballads or something like that. And it was crazy like how it made it all fit. It was stupid, but it was pretty good.
Worked in those details.
Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of fun / scary to play around with.
Yeah.
But the part that I have an issue with, I also here's what I did. I said, tell me who the top 10 powerlifting coaches are and why they are the best, or something like that. And its list of top 10, I'm not going to list them because I think 7 of the 10 are shit coaches.
Ooh.
But what I found was they're also the ones that have the most bullshit published on the internet. So when this little AI is like looking for stuff,
that's what it's going to find.
That's what it's going to find, which also leads me to think like they are also the ones that are
real people would find.
Exactly.
Right.
By searching, I'm like,
Right. And if you can fool an AI.
Yeah. And all the names on there were like really popular coaches or popular names, but not for necessarily the right reason. Just that's who people come across.
Wow.
There were 3 on there that were good coaches, though. I'm trying to remember who they were. One of them was Chad Wesley Smith. Trying to think who the other one was. The other 2 were that I thought.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He does a good job online. Juggernaut, right?
Yep. Anyway, I don't know. That wasn't on the agenda to talk about. I just
not at all.
You said something that made me think of it. I don't know what it was, but anyway.
God, sorry.
We have a new meet in Georgia that just got sanctioned. The Georgia High School State Meet is going to be Sunday, May 21st, and registration just opened. So if you are a high school student or high school coach that wants to bring a team, you can get more information about that at highschool.usaplgeorgia.com. That'll be a good meet. Elizabeth Turner is running that.
Now that I've heard about the Texas High School Powerlifting Federation, I just feel like Georgia needs to just step up their game in a huge freaking way.
I agree.
I just no idea that that's the biggest federation. I mean, everything's bigger in Texas. That's what they say.
So I think it'll be good. Like, and we've kind of got it going, and then it kind of fell off. Got it going, it kind of fell off. I think it's about to take off again in Georgia. So, kind of had a little hiccup with COVID, and last couple of years kind of not being real big, I guess. But I think this year is going to be big.
Good.
this was something that came up. People advertising local meats, like having a national feel at a local level. And there's a lot of meats doing like primetime sessions and stuff now. I'm curious what you think about that.
Primetime sessions at a local meet?
Yeah. So like some of them are making it like a standard, like you have to have a minimum dots to get into the primetime session. Like there's one in Atlanta coming up. I think the first like break off, like obviously, we had it at Raw Nationals, but then like Carolina Primetime had their, they had their, invite only meet. A couple other like TBS and Texas started doing it. But it's almost like everywhere you look, there's a primetime session now. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like I like the idea, obviously, but at what point is it just
watering it down?
Yeah, I don't even know if. Yeah, I don't know. So this was a topic I had a conversation with somebody. One of the primetime meets, for example, like the production was great, live stream was awesome, but like there were no chairs in the back for the lifters. There's just like little things like that. So it's like, at what point does a meet director say, okay, I need to take care of the basics first, and then maybe I can do some of these things. But also, some of these meets are giving out prize money and things like that, which is also great. But they're breaking even or losing money and then just getting burnt out, which I'll be honest, I did the same thing. Like the first couple of years I ran meets, like I broke even at best because I wanted to have, prize money. I wanted to have, at the time, like having a big projector screen was like cutting edge. So, it's just, I don't know. I think people are getting too maybe caught up in the big things that they're sacrificing some of the little things that I think are necessary for a good meet.
Yeah. Getting caught up in the flashy things. Yeah. Cause a local meet, I have seen meets where they've had like a separate flight of invite only lifters, but every time I've seen that, I have only seen a couple of lifters actually show up for that. So sometimes or at least when I saw it, maybe there's other meets where it's just come off great.
Yeah, I think there are. The meets, like again, using Carolina Primetime as an example, they have some really big name lifters that come, and if you watch the live stream of it, like it's a super awesome show. But I saw an announcement yesterday or today, excuse me, that he's this is going to be his last one. This is the third year of it. Right. I don't know exactly the reason. I don't know if it's budgetary, because like he puts a lot of money into it. But it's like, what would be better, to have a well-run meet that is long-lasting, or just have this really awesome high production meet that, after 3 years just goes away because it's not sustainable?
Right, because it's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think the consistency thing. It's kind of like when you're in the gym. Like, do you go to the gym often, or do you, lift heavy a couple of times a year and then leave?
Yeah.
Is
that a serious question for me?
Yes. Ask your AI.
I do the wrong answer. I lift heavy a few times a year and then leave. But the other thing was like, and I'm not against live streaming local meets. Maybe I am, but I think what's happening is a lot of meet directors, they start looking at, a little bit at a budget, and they're like, that have never run a meet before, and they want to start running meets. I think the expectation is you have to live stream these local meets. Like it has to be super high production. And yeah, we want it to look nice and everything. But what a lifter appreciates more than anything, in my opinion, is a meet that starts on time, good equipment to warm up on. It doesn't even have to be a combo rack. It could be a rig, a CrossFit rig, is if there's enough stations where you don't have to keep changing the height. I just think that a lot of those things are the important parts that maybe people think is I guess people think is not the most important part.
Yeah.
Deep thoughts. I don't know.
Deep thoughts from Josh Rohr.
So I don't know what the answer is. I think, I would rather see meet directors take a step back on some of that stuff and make a little bit of money. Like, I know that sounds probably not what lifters want to hear, but meet directors should make money. Maybe not what they're worth, right? Not what their time is actually worth, but they shouldn't be breaking even or losing money to put on these events, because it's a lot of work and they should make some money on it. So I would rather see meat directors make a little bit of money and be able to keep running the meats, quality meats, versus trying to always upstage and do, the next big thing, whether it be production or live stream, whatever it is. They make $1,000 profit year one, so they add $1,000 to their expenses year two, and then they break. Yeah. So they're actually going backwards from a sustainability standpoint.
Right. And that's actually one of my pet peeves for the entire like fitness industry, like anything that has to do with fitness, whether it's lifting or meet directing or coaching or whatever, like to sustain yourself in this industry, you have to make money. Like people are like, well, I want to do it for the passion. I'm so passionate about this. I want to get people fit. Well, yeah, that's great. And that's absolutely the reason you get into it. But after a certain amount of time, like if you can't make a living,
right,
then you can't be in that industry. Like you can't, when you roll up in a shitbox car, people are like, well, wow, they're doing it for the passion. Well, that's great until your shitbox car breaks down and now you can't even get there and you're stressed out and you can't, you can't sustain yourself on passion. You have to actually pay the bills and make a comfortable living, not being paid like a Starbucks barista. It's a professional wage for a profession, period. And that's a big part of why I got out of the fitness industry, because I was just sick of it.
And I think some people understand that, and other people are like, well, Joe up the road charges less, what I'm just going to go there. Well, you probably are getting one of two things. You're getting what you pay for quality wise, or that is a person that is doing it and they are good straight off of passion, and the doors are going to be closed in 6 months. So, what is, and the other thing is too, like if you really find value in the coach you're working with or the gym you're at, like you kind of, I look at it as like you kind of should be invested in that. And for that to keep going, like, yeah, there has to be,
right.
Nobody's, some people are probably getting rich. Some of these like people that do influencer people, like people maybe. That aren't actually in the trenches doing the coaching or doing the gym. Like they're like the online personality people.
Right.
Like, I think some of them make pretty good money, but they're not really doing the day-to-day in the trenches coaching and gym management.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just kind of
sorry. Rambling. That was my pet peeve. I went off on a rant myself.
We frown on rants here on this podcast, as you can listen to every episode and find out that's not true. So we are doing our top 5 driving songs. The deadline to submit your list was yesterday, February 14th. However, only 3 people threw their name in the hat. Maybe we didn't promote it well enough. So we're going to extend it another week. So February 21st is the deadline. And people better submit a list.
All right. So here's the deal. This is how we're making powerlifting and power ballads podcast like interactive. This is cool, right? Better than ever before. So you submit your lifting list. Sorry, your driving songs list. I'm so excited. I'm getting all screwed up. All right. So you submit your list. My plan is to make a playlist out of every list. And then you get to bring up that playlist, play it, and then you get to vote like on which one is really good by listening to it. I don't know why we've never done this before. It needs to happen. Please don't make it a ton of work for me. So
yeah, that's exactly it. That's the reason this never happened, is because I just never wanted to do any extra work. This podcast is fun for me. I legit put 0 effort into it.
We are winging it every week. Yes, we admit, but the music part, I'm passionate about this. So I don't mind putting my time in for free to a certain extent.
So does a little fine print
to a certain extent. But so y'all, this is cool. Get your music list in. We're going to give people another damn week because I'm one of the people that also didn't submit their list.
Yeah, I didn't submit mine either. So 3 people have submitted it, and neither one of us has yet.
But we need like a tournament to make this thing work. Like I can't like have 5 lists and be like, hey, look, there are 5 lists. Which one of these 5 is the best?
Yeah, so we do a tournament. Like everybody's list gets put on Instagram, and it's a tournament head to head, like single elimination. So like we had 20 something was the last, how many people we had in the last one. And each week, like we put it on Instagram stories and people vote. They don't even have to be people that participate in, it's just people vote. And then whoever the best list is moves on to the next round until we have a champion. Champion gets this time $100 worth of Team Roar apparel. So not the best prize we've ever had, but not too bad.
Yeah, but this time it's really on the music
versus a popularity contest we've had a few times, which that was cool too. But that pretty much takes us out
because we're not popular, but our music's great. But yeah, so this makes it more about the music.
So basically,
let's keep it about the music.
Yep. Unless that doesn't work for us, then we'll figure out a different set of parameters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So get your music list in by when? What are we saying now?
February 21st.
Okay. So February 21st, get your damn music list in so we can make this a real thing. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to make these lists, if it's going to be on Spotify or YouTube Music yet. I'll figure it out.
Either way, we'll have something.
Or not, if no one gives me their damn list. All right. So Joshua, powerlifting situation. Here you go. You must walk through one of these doors. Boom, boom, boom. Door number 1. You will add 25 pounds per year to your total in each of the next 20 years without an injury. Ooh, that sounds pretty nice. Or door number 2, you'll add 100 pounds per year to your total for the next 4 years and then be forced to take a year off because of injury. When you come back, you must start 100 pounds less than your best total, but gain 100 pounds per year again for 2 years. And then get injured again permanently and never compete again. I like door number 1 better. I don't know about you. I'm not doing the math, but
so both of them will be a 500-pound increase on your total. Is what it comes down to. Door number 1, it takes you 20 years to get there. Door number 2 takes you essentially, 4, 5, 7 years to get there. But then you're done. So I take door number 1, because the other thing is door number 2 says you get injured and never compete again. Door number 1 just says you add 25 pounds a year for the next 20 years without injury. 20 years is open-ended. It doesn't say you're done. It doesn't say you can keep competing. So the assumption is to be determined. So I take door number 1 every time. I know a lot of people, just based on the way they train, the way they talk, the way they seek out their coach, they just want to get as strong as they can, as fast as they can, and damn the long-term consequences. Some of those lifters are very good lifters, and it's unfortunate that they're not going to be here for very long. And some of them, I'm not going to name names, but I know of lifters that have emerged onto the national stage, done really well. Some even won, and then couple years later they're gone because they got hurt, got burnt out, whatever it is. I think powerlifting is a game of longevity, and you got to be able to, look at the bigger picture. And it's not always about what gets me to lift the most weight right now. It's what's going to keep me healthy enough to continue to lift more weight over time.
Yeah. And I think it kind of comes down to if you're planning out your month, right? And you're like, man, I can spend X amount of time lifting. I think there's a perception that you have to spend a shit ton of time, but I would rather work out for 20 minutes a day for 5 days a week than to lift twice a week, right? More often consistently, just because if you use your time very wisely, you can get a lot in a short amount of time. And keep going and make it about longevity and health rather than once in a while lifting heavy, because your body's not going to quite be able to react as well to that. I know me personally, for how I used to train, I used to spend a lot of time training. And I think that was part of what burnt me out, right? Who's got 15, 20 hours to spend a week? A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think just throwing a hypothetical here, like let's assume we're talking about I don't know, 22-year-old kid that just got out of college. So they're basically kind of just going into the open. I think the mindset there is like, I'm moving into the open. Like I want the 400 pounds on my total in the next 4 years so that I can compete at the open level. And there's a lot of people I think that go that route and do compete at the open level, but again, that doesn't last. Even people training, let's say we'll just use 5 days a week, training for 2 hours a day. That's a lot, right? There's people that'll train 6 days a week, 3 hours a day, even twice a day sometimes, squatting 3-4 times a week, whatever. And that, I mean, the reality is that is going to get you probably stronger quicker in the short term, but you're going to start developing a lot of imbalances, a lot of other issues that come up, and it's just not sustainable, especially as you get older. Like you're really asking for, overuse injuries for sure, but just, you can only maintain that level of volume and intensity for so long. And, the thing too, like this is, I think, something that gets people tripped up is, most training manuals and things like that say like you continue to get strong by, adding more volume over time. Like the more volume you can do, the more volume you can do is how you keep progressing. And that's scientifically that's true, but like you got to pace yourself there because like you can only add so much before you break. And I think that's people just want to just add as much as they can all the time. And just, that's their rationale is like, you get stronger by adding more volume and just keep adding and adding and adding. And, you need to have a proportionate amount of assistance work to main competition lift work ratio. And if you don't do that, you're asking for injuries. And, some people they look at it so short term, like, well, if I just spend all my time doing squat, bench, deadlift, I can do more volume of squat, bench, deadlift. So my squat, bench, deadlift is going to go up faster. And technically that's true, but up until the point you break and then you're, back to zero. So,
right. Yep. Which is basically this scenario.
Yeah.
So avoid door number 2.
Yep. Basically.
So as a new lifter tip, pay attention to which day, session, and platform and flight you're in, especially on a multi-day meet, right?
Yep. Threw this out there basically for the Georgia State meet because it is 3 days, 3 platforms, 2 sessions, 3 flights. That's a lot of information. So if you're not really paying attention to what all of that means, you'll likely show up on the right day because I think that it says like what day each weight class lifts, but you might be morning session, you might be afternoon session based on your body weight and what you weigh in at. But also even in that, you got to pay attention to what platform you're on, because if you're in flight, let's just say you're in flight C, you're in flight C, session 1. Okay, great. Well, platform 1 might be really small flights. Platform 3 might be really big flights. And if you're just kind of warming up when you see people in flight C warming up, that might not be your flight C. They might be warming up a different platform that, is running faster than you or slower or whatever it is. So it's always important to, after weigh-ins, double check that scoreboard, make sure you understand what platform, what flight, all of that.
Right. And it can change after weigh-ins.
Yep. Always double check it, because if people miss weight, specifically if you miss weight, there's a good chance that you might get moved, but it's also a scenario that if somebody else misses weight, they could move into your flight, make it more than 14 lifters, and now that flight gets split. You might have been in flight B, now it's flight B and C instead of just flight A and B. So, just always double check it. It never hurts to double check. And, if you have questions, ask. Like, I think that's something we talked about the other day, Laura. If you don't know, ask. Don't be afraid.
Yep. Anyway, there you go.
I think I'm out of things to talk about.
Well, we should end this podcast then.
Okay, sounds good. Get your songs in. February 21st is the deadline. Top 5 driving songs. Submit it, or you get put on Laura's list. Nobody wants that. Bye, Laura.
Bye now. You were trying to get me to say bye, Josh.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.